Oh, goodness. Hello. My name is Greg Underdahl. If you haven't met me before, welcome to Angling Uploaded. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to give a recap of my day filming for Major League Fishing, the Bass Pro Tour Stage 2 here at Lake Okeechobee. And I'm in a hotel room right now, so I've just basically got off the water, Lake Okeechobee, and it was a very, very windy day. Actually, the windiest day I've ever filmed in, but I'll get to that here shortly. So today was it was a slow day, but I'm going to start from the beginning. And so I am if you haven't seen these recap videos before, I'm a freelance videographer. I am hired to film all of the Bass Pro Tour events, the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour events. And I thought it'd be kind of cool this year and I'm going to try to do this, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to after every day of filming, do a video about my day and just to kind of offer some insights, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. I got to be careful because I don't want to say anything that maybe an angler doesn't want out there. But for the most part, I think this will be kind of a fun video series, if you will. That will kind of just I don't know. I love this sport, and I remember when I would watch it on TV. I always loved to try to hear any of the behind the scenes stuff that happened. So I thought it would be kind of cool to share some stuff like that. Am I rambling right now? So first off, how my day begins. I get up, I set my alarm clock for 5 a.m. I set multiple alarms, typically 3 if I can, but my alarm clock over there is junk. So I have one alarm for my phone, and then I get a wake-up call. So redundancy is very important in this business. My nightmare is sleeping through alarm clocks and being late or not waking up. You know, don't want to do that. So get up at 5. I have a rental car. I meet a couple of the other camera guys down at the lobby of the hotel, and I pick them up, and we drive to an area where we get our camera gear, and we make sure that we've got rain gear for the camera. All our gear goes into a bag, and I carry like 8 camera batteries with me so that I don't need to have another boat come by and give me batteries. I'm basically self-sufficient out on the water all day. I have my lunch in there, and I take that bag. I have my camera. That's basically all I need. I meet my angler. It was kind of cool in this particular tournament. I actually met my angler. My angler pulls up to the camera area, and I jump in with him. And because the conditions today here on Okeechobee were so crazy rough, sustained winds of like 20 plus miles an hour, they allowed the anglers to trailer wherever they wanted to go. So that was really nice. So basically I was able to my angler, who is David Walker, pulled up. I jumped in with him and his boat official, and we went down the road a ways to a boat launch where he wanted to dump his boat, and that was it. Basically, as far as, in a typical tournament, you'd have to drive, you'd have to take a boat ride to a location, and in these conditions, that would have been really, really tough. It would have been bad. So I really am appreciative of Major League Fishing, the fact that these guys can trailer to a location with their boat official and dump their boat in, and we didn't have to go for a long ride. So that was really, really nice. So I was with David Walker, never worked with David before, but I had heard that he's just a super nice guy, and also a buddy of mine that I've worked with before, or a cameraman buddy of mine. He told me that it's whenever he's worked with David, he loves working with David so much because like David just he'll have a big fish on and he'll be laughing the whole time getting the fish into the boat. So, and that was my experience with him. Super nice, super positive, and a joy to be with. So, let's see here. I have some notes in front of me because I have a terrible memory. So the minute we put the boat in, there was a squall that came through, and it started to rain, and the temperature dropped, and the wind picked up dramatically, and it pretty much stayed windy the whole rest of the day, and it wasn't the worst conditions I've shot in as far as like waves and things, but it's definitely was the windiest I've ever shot in. And luckily we weren't going out into the main lake. There wasn't any offshore stuff like that. So we weren't that exposed to much too many waves, but it was windy, and you just get exhausted. It's just like you're constantly getting slapped in the face. I need some water. I mean Gatorade. So yeah, it was a tough day. I mean, if you watch the live tournament, Okeechobee was not acting like Okeechobee. It was the conditions. It was just brutal conditions. The fish weren't active. They weren't biting very good, and from what I've heard, it's like Florida bass want the sunshine. So Florida strain largemouth, they're very fickle creatures. So it was a tough day, and I was only able to capture one fish on camera with David. Let's see. So basically I was moving. I'm trying to think. Oh, I want to say this first. One thing that I thought was kind of cool is that David, I used to live in Pennsylvania. I was in a bass club in Pennsylvania, and I remember I don't know where I saw it, but I remember seeing one of the anglers wrapping their lure in tinfoil, in aluminum foil. And I always thought they were doing that because they didn't want to see other competitors. They didn't want other competitors seeing what lure they're using. Well, I saw David doing this. I saw he had wrapped his lures in tinfoil in his rod box. And so I asked him about it, and I said, well, you don't want people to see what lures you're using or something? And he's like, no. I wrap them in aluminum foil, like, aluminum foil. Everybody knows what aluminum foil is. He just wraps the lure around the rod in aluminum foil, or not even around the rod necessarily. The lure is just wrapped in aluminum foil. And he does it because it keeps the hooks and everything out of stuff. It's a great way to secure the hooks down, and you don't get, the treble hooks don't get caught up in everything, including the rod socks that, the rod wraps or whatever. So, pro tip of the day right there. So that's, wanted to share that with you. But then, so I was moved from David to Fletcher. Fletcher was starting to move up the score tracker. So I've worked with Fletcher before. Fletcher is a fantastic guy. He's got a great attitude. And he was throwing a swim jig all day, pretty much. But that when I was with him, he was throwing a swim jig. And he was fishing in such shallow water. This is interesting too, what happens when you, on a big body of water, when you have a lot of wind going in just one direction, sustained heavy wind in one direction on a big body of water, you'll have what is known as a seiche. I believe that's how you pronounce it, but the wind is pushing all the water to one side of the lake. And so on one side of the lake, you have high water because all that all that water is being pushed to one side of the lake. The other side of the lake, because it's, all the water's been pushed, drops. So you have one side of the lake that's high, one side of the lake that's low. We were fishing the side of the lake that was, I guess it would be the leeward side of the lake. So the water had actually dropped like a foot. And so we were fishing in super shallow water, and I kept having to go from the bow to the back. If we got too shallow, Fletcher wanted me to go to the bow because that way I wouldn't be, I'm a little heavy right now. So when I was in the back of the boat, I was sitting the prop into the dirt, and he couldn't, into the bottom, so he couldn't move. So I had to get up to the bow and film him from the bow, so the bow would come down and he could fish. So I kept on having to do that when we got in too shallow water, which is it's good for me to get some exercise. Trust me. Let's see what else here. The wind definitely increased in the third period, and like I said, it was crazy there. Like towards the end of the third period, it really seemed to pick up, and I mean it really seemed to be sustained at like 25. I think that's, I'm not out of control saying that. It was windy, and like I said, luckily I didn't have the guys that I filmed today, David and Fletcher, we didn't have to, they weren't running a long ways, and they're both like really courteous too, they don't go crazy, like balls out. They're always asking how I'm doing, so that's very much appreciative, and I understand, they're trying to win a tournament, and still they're very courteous, so it's awesome to work with guys like that. One thing that I noticed, and I asked Fletcher about, he's the only angler that I know of that is now just using a Minn Kota Fortrex instead of a Minn Kota Ultrex. The Minn Kota Ultrex trolling motor has spot lock on it, and it's like been all the rage because of spot lock. I mean, if you're in a situation with current, or even in a windy situation, you can hit that spot lock and just be locked down and not have to worry about the trolling motor. It'll keep you on a GPS locked position. He doesn't have that motor. And I asked him about it, and he said, well, he doesn't really, he fishes shallow, and he fishes like backwaters, flipping and pitching so much that it's really not a big deal for him. And where we weren't really getting blown around that much. We were really in shallow reeds and away, kind of. It was still windy, but there wasn't any wave action or anything like that. But the other thing too is he said that it's also just a bit quieter. So thought that was interesting. So let's see. Fletcher ended the day in 11th with 5 fish weighing 11.7. David Walker, he placed in 25th with 2 fish weighing 4.9. And then the leader of the tournament, remember, Group A still has another qualifying round to go. Top 20 move on. But Michael Neal leads with 9 fish, 25.09. So hell of a fisherman, Michael Neal, and it's going to be exciting to see how well he does in this tournament. But he's a young guy, so I think he's got a bright future. So that's it. That's the recap for the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Group A qualifying round 1. And I will do another video tomorrow with Group B. And looking forward to it. And I'm trying to think who I have tomorrow. Oh, I have Jordan Lee tomorrow. So check it out live. I'll be starting out with Jordan Lee. Maybe I'll be with him all day. And when you see that footage with Jordan Lee, know that it's me. Yours truly, Greg Underdahl with Angling Uploaded. If you like this video, really encourage you to check out our other videos too. And If you like what we're doing here at Angling Uploaded, please consider subscribing. It is, without a doubt, the best way to support the channel. Thanks, guys.